Hello, I'm Gary Jolly from the Tractor Store in Richland. Now's the best time of the year to save more with Mahindra, and it all starts with zero. Pay zero down and 0% interest up to 60 months. That's more for less on many of Mahindra's best-selling models, with tractors that deliver more lift, capacity, fuel efficiency, and built-in weight. So get zero down, 0% interest for up to 60 months on Mahindra, the world's #1 selling tractor, Mahindra, available at the Tractor Store in Richland.
Okay.
Hey, Ben. Obviously, successful game against South Carolina last time you played them at their place. Big advantage for you guys on the boards. Struggled a little bit, South Carolina has since then. What do you expect to see from them, and what different challenges might you face from the first time you played them?
You know, they've been short-handed the last couple games. They had Krusnard out for 2 games with looks like a sprained foot against Ole Miss. He got hurt early in the game, 8 minutes into the game. And I'm assuming he'll be back for our game, and that makes a big difference because he's a really good player, one of their best players. And then Mania missed a game against either Missouri or Tennessee. I can't remember which, but he was back in the last game coming off the bench. But I think they'll be at full strength again. And we know how tough they are to play against. Every time we play South Carolina, it is like a root canal. It's so difficult because they're so tough defensively, and they, change defenses. They're going to play both man and zone. They press some. They'll trap some out of their zone. So they're going to, and then they push the ball really hard. You know, it's a team that is, in terms of, Ken Palm tempo, they're way up on the list and really push the issue. They're playing different this year in that they're not pounding it inside as much as they've had in previous years that we played against South Carolina. And it's a different, thing to guard because they play 4 guards a lot. They really space the floor, and sometimes even 5 guards. Sometimes they'll have Bryant and Mania as the 4 and the 5, and those are tough matchups for your 4s and 5s. But we that game was a great win for us. We needed that one desperately on the road. We've got to try to put together 2 wins in a row here, and we've only done it one time the entire conference, and so we've got to try to put back-to-back games together in terms of our effort and focus, and really play well here to win. We know we're going to have to play really well to beat these guys. I mean, Lawson's one of the best players in our league. He's an all-league player. Bryant's had a terrific year. It's a very difficult matchup. So we've got our hands full with these guys.
We'll swing it over to Paul Jones. Paul, go ahead.
Coach, I know we've talked about this since the start of the season and how obviously crowds are limited this year with COVID, but your team has gone on the road and they're 4-3 in the SEC on the road and 2-5 at home. Is it just the way it's happened this year? I know you said the home court advantage isn't like it used to be without the crowd, but any difference you see with your guys playing on the road compared to home?
You know what? When we're on the road, we're together the entire trip. So, here, when you're at home, we've encouraged our guys, because of COVID, to stay away. We're really fractioned. And I almost like better being on the road for that reason, is that we're more together for the entire trip and really together. You think you have an advantage playing at home, but really there's zero advantage in my mind because you just don't have the energy from the crowd that you normally have because it's just not a big enough crowd to really affect it. And so it all has to come from within. It has to come from you. And you know that when you're on the road. When you're on the road, you have no fans there at all typically. And so it's just you. And I think there's a heightened response to that. We have to have that tomorrow against South Carolina, like we're playing on the road. We're playing a 6:00 game, and I hope we get 1,000 people there, and because it does help. It really helps us. But we've got to have the energy coming from within our team and our bench.
And a follow-up kind of along those lines with looking ahead to the Auburn game. Has there been any discussion when that game may be made up? Would it be at the end of next weekend, or is that just something to be determined later?
I would hope it'd be March 6th, but I haven't heard anything. That's Saturday. That we started in December this year, so in case teams had to make up games for COVID reasons, they'd be able to do that. Well, we haven't had any COVID misses yet, knock on wood. And so it would make sense. And that's kind of what I talked about with Bruce Pearl when, we found out we wouldn't be able to play that game. That, hopefully we'll get there on March 6th, and he was fine with that.
I have one last question, Coach. You mentioned after, I guess actually before the win at Ole Miss, we're talking about Derek Fountain's defense and how he made some strides. And I thought he probably played his best defensive game at Ole Miss. What did you see from him as far as taking a step forward on that side of the court?
Yeah, I thought he did a good job. He was really in good health, really stunning well, being aggressive with the defense. He's still got to get better at blocking out, on every possession. But overall, I thought I agree with your assessment.
We'll swing it over to Dalton. Dalton, jump on in.
Hey, Coach. When y'all played at South Carolina, DJ Stewart, scored, I think, 29 points. When you go back and look at that film, what do you do so well that stood out to you to have such a good game?
Well, he scored in all ways. He scored from three. He scored in mid-range. He scored at the basket, and he got to the foul line. So that's what you got to do to put together a game of 29 points, which is a career high for an SEC game for him. I think he had 4 threes in that game, and so he really shot it well from the three-point land, and that was big. And he had a magnificent game both ends of the floor. He played good defensively. I thought he created some turnovers. I mean, he was really, fantastic. And we need to have a similar effort out of him here tomorrow night.
Appreciate it, Coach. Neil is on with the morning shoot around tomorrow, so you can knock him out here in just a second.
You hear me all right?
Uh-huh.
All righty. Let me hit my button here.
Are we done with the media now? Is that what you're saying, man?
Yeah, we're done with the traditional media, and Neil is ready to go.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Not many questions today, unfortunately.
What's that, Matt?
I said, unfortunately, not many questions from them today.
Oh.
That's fine.
All right, Coach, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Bancorp South pregame. Oh, that's coming back big time, isn't it? All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Bancorp South pregame show. Today it's Mississippi State and South Carolina's second meeting between these two clubs this season, and time for our pregame conversation with Coach Ben Howland. Let me talk to you about what you've been talking with your guys about to start things today. Building momentum. Big win on the road at Ole Miss. Now you got to try to put together back-to-back games. What do you got to do? What have you talked about to try and make that happen tonight?
To keep the same focus and the same level of intensity and in terms of our preparation for this game, and to really, have the same level of, togetherness. I thought we had great leadership within our team going into that last game. Obviously, it's a rivalry game. It's a huge game for us, but every game is huge. And we want to put together another win and get back-to-back wins in the SEC for the second time this season. So we've got to have great focus, great concentration, great togetherness. And I thought we did all those things up in Oxford on Saturday.
And I think it'd be fair to say you did some of that at South Carolina the last time that you played the Gamecocks, too, especially on the defensive end. You held South Carolina in that game to 31%. That's the lowest field goal percentage they have shot against an opponent this year. What is it about State's defense, when it's at its best, that it can hold people to those low numbers? What is it doing well when it's at its best?
I think what we did well in that game, we were really in the gaps, we were really helping each other, so that taking away drives by having multiple players helping and stunning and in position to get their bodies in front. And, I thought that our team defense was really good in that game. And that's the key for when we're good defensively. It's a team, defense and really helping. And we were good in transition in that game for the most part. And they're a very good transition offensive team. They push it very hard on makes and misses both, and they really pushed hard on makes. And normally everybody pushes it on a miss. They push it just as hard when you score on them. Teams have a tendency to relax after they score, and you can't do that with South Carolina because it's coming right back the other way.
one of the guys who's big in doing that is A.J. Lawson. And here's a guy that if you look up and down his season box score, there aren't many teams that have held him to less than 20 points. And your team only allowed him to get 13 in that game over in Columbia, which is still double figures, but that seems like a huge accomplishment. How tough is it to keep a guy like that who's so dynamic in check offensively?
It's really difficult because he's a great player. I mean, he's an all-league player in our league. In my estimation, he'll get my vote, and I've been impressed with him all year long. I think going into the first time we played him, he had like 6 straight games where he'd scored like 20 points or more. I mean, it was like he was off, the charts. He's really a good 3-point shooter. He gets to the rim. He's really improved his, attacking the basket aspect, movement without the ball. Their offensive style this year is really good because it gives there's more openness to it for guards to be able to bounce it and get to the rim. So he's really taken full advantage of it. And he gets to the line. I mean, he's just a very good player. And our team defense was good. And DJ, who was on him, did a great job in that first game and is going to be counted on to do the same here tomorrow night.
Yeah, you talked to me during the radio show Monday about Davon Smith's defense and how far he's come in these last few games, too. And he's a guy who's going to be out there at the end of the game when you're going to try to close this thing out. When you look at how he could impact this game in particular at that end of the floor, what's he doing well right now?
Well, he's doing a good job of stunning and helping. Like against Ole Miss, I watched that film on Sunday after we played Saturday night, and really impressed with his help defense. And against South Carolina, the first time we played him, he at times had trouble staying in front of Woods. And so we're counting on him to do a better job here today against them, staying in front of him because he's really being more aggressive, Woods is. And he really started back then in our game with him being aggressive, trying to score more. And, he's a fifth-year senior who's a good player and very talented athlete that can put the ball on the floor, and especially good going to his right.
State and South Carolina today here at the Hump. Coach and I will have more when the Bancorp South pregame show continues. This is Mississippi State basketball from Learfield IMG College. Segment 2, 3, 2, 1. We're 15 minutes away from tip-off of tonight's game between Mississippi State and South Carolina. 15 to tip is presented by Geico, who reminds you that 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. You mentioned that Carolina's been without a couple pieces. They did not have Justin Minaya in the game at Tennessee, had a head injury. They've been without Jermaine Couisnard for the last 2, and Couisnard's a guy who feels like he can be a difference maker. How different are they when he's in the lineup, and when you've watched the last couple of games, how different are they without him on the floor?
Now, Couisnard's a really good player. I have great respect for him. He's played well against us in the past, and he's really good down there a year ago. I think he had 10 assists and 0 turnovers in the game we lost to him a year ago in Columbia. It was great down there. Can really score it. Very dynamic athlete, very explosive. It looked like he either sprained an ankle or hurt his foot in the Ole Miss game. I watched that film and saw when it happened early in that game a couple weeks ago. So I would imagine he'll be back tonight. We don't know for sure. And we've got to be prepared for him, and we're preparing that he's going to play.
DJ Stewart was the point guard for your team at Ole Miss. First time that's happened this year, and you and I talked Monday that this is something that you'd like to continue to do. I'm curious, even though DJ's a talented guy, is there a learning curve for him when he moves to a position like that, or can his natural ability help him overcome any kind of curve that he might have to endure there?
There's no question it's a curve because he hasn't played it throughout the year except for that one last game. But yet we've used him a lot there in practice. So he does have some, a lot of practice time where he's played it, and he's been very good at it. And I think it really helped us. And he's done a great job at feeding the post. When you look at the beginning of the Ole Miss game, he got the first 2 baskets we got were dunk shots, one by Abdul and one by Tolu off of his penetrating drives where he kicked it to him. And he's really looking for them, and that really helps us because we need to set the tone that we're playing inside out with our shots.
Iverson has been playing very well, and I went back and looked because it felt like second halves in particular had been big for him. 2 of the last 3 games, he's had at least 12 points in the second half. To use a baseball term, he's kind of like a closer, I think, for your guys. How much of that is game plan? How much of that is just he's a guy who thrives when the game maybe hangs in the balance?
Yeah, I think he definitely thrives, but he's also in incredible physical condition. I think some players, later in games start to wear down. He's going faster. I mean, he's in unbelievable condition. We missed a couple of days of practice because of the weather-related issues we had here in Starkville and in Mississippi before the Ole Miss game early in the week on Monday and Tuesday. And so we came back. Everybody was really dragging on Wednesday's practice, except for him. It was like he had never missed a day. He had missed a beat. I mean, he's an amazing athlete. And he's obviously a critical component to our team and to us being successful.
Good luck tonight.
Thanks, Neil.
That's Ben Howland. It's Mississippi State and South Carolina. Round 2 between these clubs here at Humphrey Coliseum. The Bancorp South pregame show will continue in a moment. This is Mississippi State basketball from Learfield IMG College. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Neil.